this session, we're going to talk a little bit about Automated Logic's cost-saving strategy, demand control. Now, demand control is designed to limit energy consumption during peak periods of demand. And we're looking at the electric meter right here, obviously. And as we know, electric companies will charge you based on your usage, of course, your kWh, but they may also charge you based on peak demand and even the times and the dates that you use electricity. In other words, your rates may change based on your peak demand or when you're using it. Now, because of this, the way that you're charged can be relatively complicated. The electric companies will give you what's called a rate schedule, and that rate schedule details how a building or buildings will be charged for electrical consumption. Now, in order for us to manage that rate schedule and when your building uses electricity and how much it uses, the dealer needs that rate schedule. So this cost-saving strategy really requires the facilities manager or someone at the building to get the rate schedule to the dealer. Let's talk about what demand control is. Now, when you see a building like this, you know that it's consuming energy. Now, in the past, what people would do is they would do what's called load shedding, or they would take areas of the building they thought were non-critical and stop servicing them with their equipment in order to save energy. That's inefficient, and it's also uncomfortable if you happen to be in one of the non-critical areas. No one wants that. Another thing that they would do is they would duty cycle, turn equipment on and off at intervals in order to conserve electricity. Again, inefficient, and there's some controversy as to the effectiveness of that. Now, demand control approaches it a little different. We want to distribute the energy savings or the energy consumption across the building. In other words, we're not going to focus on specific areas and equipment so much, but we're going to relax set points across the entire building, thus minimizing the impact on the people in the building, but saving energy for the system. Let's look at what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to the conference room and look at the properties page. Here's the zone control for the zone set point control, and we see these color bands. We have the unoccupied color band, and of course we do know that this means that when the building is unoccupied, we're not going to do any control unless it gets colder than 55 or higher than 85. We've essentially changed the set point or relaxed the color band. Here's the occupied set point. We want it to be optimally between 75 and 78 degrees. Now, here's something we haven't talked about before, the demand set points. Essentially what happens is this zone can listen for the electric meter to broadcast different demand levels. And when it's at demand level 1, instead of having a set point of 75 to 78, it will broaden that and make it 74 to 79. At demand level 2, the optimal set points will be 73 to 80. And then finally, at demand level 3, it's 72 to 81. Obviously, as that meter broadcasts these different demand levels and these set points are relaxed, these terminal units are going to send less requests for cooling to the air handlers. The air handlers are going to have less requests. They're going to start relaxing their set points, and they in turn are going to send less requests to the chiller. Now, when you look at it in the conference room, that's a minimal impact. But when you start spreading it across the entire building like so, what you get is a significant savings or a significant decrease in energy consumption. Now, what's nice about this is that each of these zones can be configured uniquely. So, for instance, we're looking at all of them and we see that, hey, we are in fact going to relax set points. However, if this happened to be a server room, you might not do that. All of these bands might be the same, okay? Or you may simply disable that particular zone from listening. So again, we say the entire system, but we do have the ability to pick and choose which zones are going to participate in this cost-saving strategy. Now, looking at the meter, what we can see is we have the ability to configure not only peak periods, but also peak consumption. Okay, this is peak demand or peak consumption that will be given to you, these rates, by the electric company. And right now we see that there are 3 of them, and we see that there are 3 periods. However, this has been engineered to have 3 periods. If yours is more complex, you can have 4, 5, 6, 7. This is completely configurable by the dealer. So essentially, demand control limits energy consumption, but it sort of spreads the pain to the entire system so that the impact to the occupants is minimized.